Alrighty, let's get started with some Dark Surge speed farming. The idea behind this is pretty simple. Grab everything with the word Dark Surge on it and click stuff to profit. You just have to remember to not accidentally remove the relevant cards, because it removes rare cards and then draws rare chaos cards. I'm not 100% sure if I want to keep using alert. First off, of course, start off with this because there's no Dark Surge present anywhere right now. So I need to grab some Dark Surge cards. Oh, I should have done this. Yeah, I should have. I think I can just do both. I don't know. It might have just overridden my map. I totally forgot to do that after my last map. Hey, welcome. Glad you've been enjoying the guides. All right. Well, it was worth it. 3 Flame Elementium. Welcome back. Now let's see if I lost that Dark Surge card. It's going to be unfortunate if I did. I totally did, didn't I? Well, let's see. Maybe it lets me in. Oh, never mind. It's fine. It let me in. I'm very glad that the instances don't overlap there between the Void Sea Terminal, because the number of times where I've started my next map, then remembered I had one ready to go, is just frankly embarrassing. How's it going, Krendor? All right, Whispers of Wonder. Perfect. I think if you're going super fast, you skip this. But in terms of profits, I don't think you do. Congrats! Always good when you hit the double corrupt on that sort of stuff. All right, now where are my Dark Surge cards? So there's Dark Surge Gear, and then there's Stage Corrosion. Start with Stage Corrosion. That sounds good, Krendor? I'm not 100% sure, because with all the stat squishes and changes and all that, I don't know if that's a good number or not for your gear, but it sounds good. So congratulations. And welcome. I'm glad you found it helpful. That's a good bit of Flame Elementium. I've been pretty good. A little bit busy recently because I decided to check out 7 different games during Steam Next. But now I'm probably just going to be chilling a bit. Maybe a couple more Torchlight streams, maybe a couple more Torchlight videos. Oh, I did that too fast. Oh, I guess I can do the Dark Surge at least, while this ticks down. See if we can get all the enemies together here. Okay, yeah, that sounds good then. We got a fossil. Whispers of Wonder. I don't really need most of my buttons for this. I can kind of just frigid through. I do not. I don't think XD has made any announcements in terms of when the next season is starting. I'm hoping it doesn't overlap with the start of the Path of Exile League, though. That's going to be tough if it does. No, so since I have 3 here, I think I grab this now. Now I just blink through, kill all the enemies. Though I didn't get the Dark Surge proc, so this is not going to be as exciting. Yeah, I saw a bunch of people were angry about that, which is just so weird to me. I really don't get why people are mad that one company would move a content release to not overlap with another when AAA February is literally just because AAA companies did not want to overlap with everything on December. I mean, they've said co-op's coming in the future. But as for will co-op revitalize the game, I doubt it. There's very little reason to team up with other players, even once it's added. Oh, these all suck. All right, I'm going to go with Flame Fuel and hope I get other Flame Fuel later. This is very much a single-player ARPG. Like, even if co-op's added, why would I play with someone else? All that's going to result in is either A, me having a bad time because their build is better than mine, so everything is dead, or B, them having a bad time because my build is better and everything is dead. Yeah, that as things stand right now, it's like in Path of Exile. There is co-op, and no one uses it because the game's not designed as a cooperative game. Let's see. No, talking Torchlight Infinite. Though a lot of that does apply to Last Epoch, I would say in Last Epoch, at least, there is a little bit more to it due to the fact that some of the builds are very co-op centric. Oh yeah, they absolutely understand what a PoE release is because they've played Path of Exile. I know there's always this meme of game devs don't play games, and it's somewhat true in terms of game executives not playing games, but actual devs play a ton of games because you can't know how to make good games unless you play games. I don't really see how co-op would help with rushing through the campaign. You can already do it really quickly. Oh, absolutely. Last Epoch without trade is going to be something that people buy and play for a couple of months and then never play again. Last Epoch with trade and an economy is a live service game that people can actually play forever. But without the economy, I do not see live service working for LE. The other thing that I think a lot of people are going to be... I don't know if the answer is pleasantly or unpleasantly surprised about, but surprised about in some way. So I need to do that later. A lot of people are going to be surprised at the fact that a lot of the frictions in Path of Exile exist for a good reason and make the game better. Like, people complained, oh, this or that aspect of gear doesn't matter in Torchlight Infinite, or, oh, it's too easy to gear out a character in Last Epoch. Well, yeah, that's why there's frictions in Path of Exile. Because it's very well designed to be played forever. Now, if you don't want a forever game, then I can definitely see why some people prefer games that don't have that. But you can't really have both. You're not going to have a game with low frictions that you could also play for tens of thousands of hours. Do you mean illusion, not elapse? Elapse is fine damage-wise. He's not quite top tier, but not everything needs to be, and he's definitely competitive with all of the other not quite top tier characters. But right now, this is not a game with balance. And so I expect what's going to happen is characters that are the best right now are going to get heavily nerfed, and characters that are terrible now are going to get buffed, and the middle grounds, like Elapse, are going to get left alone for a bit until they become terrible and then massively buffed. I've played the character. I'm not going to play some fake math game to justify whether the character is good or not. I don't care what the math says. I've played it, and I can tell you right now, the full functioning character is fine. Yeah, and that's fair, Michael. But also, there are certain aspects of Path of Exile where quality of life is needed and was needed. A good example of this is flasks. There's also areas where certain types of quality of life are asked for by the player base and should never be implemented. An example with that would be asynchronous trading. PoE is not designed for asynchronous trading. And unless GGG is going to, from the ground up, completely redesign every aspect of their game, they shouldn't add it. Now, should flasks have been fixed sooner? Absolutely yes. I get that they wanted to make sure it was done right, and that didn't end up quite working because no plan survives its launch. But also, given the backlash over the imperfections in the flask system, I can absolutely see why they were so hesitant to just try things. Because when they just try things, even if they do ultimately end up in an improvement, the player base takes it very poorly. And so it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy where people say, no, try stuff. We want an attempted fix rather than a perfect one. Also, how dare you not make a perfect fix? We hate you, and we're not going to play your game. And so GGG gets the reinforcement of, no, this needs to be perfect. It can't just be good. Oh, did I mess this up slightly? Yeah, I messed this up slightly. I think I messed this up slightly. Because I think this will remove my Dark Surge cards. Yeah, keyboard and controller is definitely something that hopefully PoE has sooner. Because right now, their controller integration is really awkward due to not being able to swap between control schemes. But to be fair, it is in beta, and it is being tested, and it's being worked on. So hopefully, within a couple of leagues, it'll come out of beta and be fully good. Yeah, exactly. They just stopped calling Arch Nemesis and basically kept, I would say, the good design and the bad, but realistically, I feel like they redesigned it in such a way that it wasn't so much keeping as it was keeping concepts of both the good and the bad from Arch Nemesis, and now people are just fine with it. I still don't think the state of rare monsters is perfect. I still think there's room for improvement there. But I also never thought that the state of, arch nemesis and PoE and all that was horrible to begin with. That, yeah, it was rough. There's definitely work needed, but it wasn't horrible. All right, thanks for stopping by. I haven't done this specific boss rush Dark Surge strat before. Most of the Dark Surge strats that I've done previously involved fishing for stuff in T8. So we'll see how this goes. Yeah, I'm going to adjust the deck slightly here. Nice! I'm glad you're having a good time with it. I think what I want to do is remove Agile for something else. What do I want to grab? Sentimental, maybe? Extra beacons could be interesting. I don't think these are good. Okay, but here's the thing. Why does the level 80 trait in particular matter? Are you only able to use the level 80 trait independent of all the others? Because Elapse's 62 trait has better scaling than some entire characters. Like, all of their traits combined scale worse than just that one trait. By cherry picking, you're arguing in poor faith. You have to look at the character as a whole rather than one specific piece of the character. That would be like me saying that current Gemma is bad by picking out one trait tier that is significantly weaker than a lot of other characters, when she's the strongest character in the game right now. Maybe I do keep it, actually. Yeah, I keep it. Because you could make the same argument right here. Like, Ice Fire Embrace and Bone Piercing Heat is super weak compared to the level 32 traits for most other characters. Until you realize that Glacial Flames is stronger than almost everything in the game, and Extreme Fusion allows you to triple dip instead of double dipping. And which is it? Oh yeah, this 13 trait. This is stronger than all of Space-Time Illusion. What's the best strategy to reach level 100? The best maps to run would be God of Machines in tier 8. And the best strategy, don't die. I don't know. I've never tried to reach level 100 in the game, and it's kind of a pointless endeavor. So I don't really have any answers beyond don't die and run T8 with God of Machines, because that's the best EXP. But yeah, if you judge Gemma without Ice Fire Radiance, you get a very different equation for her power level than if you judge it with Ice Fire Radiance and everything else combined. That's why it doesn't matter if a single hero trait is weak or strong. It matters if the character as a whole is weak or strong. And Elapse, yeah, he's strong. Yeah, it'd be kind of nice if they added a little bit more power to reach level 100. Although I guess, given how long it takes, maybe it's a good thing that there's no reason to do it. I think a lot of my characters get to 96 or 97 just because I play quite a bit. But aside of that, let's see. I want to start with Dark Surge cards. That removes magic. What's a good starter build? Well, there are several starter build guides up on Maxroll, and I have 2 videos, one for Erica Berserking Blade Thunderslash, and the other for Moto Charge Calling, both of which are great starter builds. I don't specifically have a starter video for this build, but Dread did start this, and it went really well for him. Pretty sure he started this anyway. Or if not, it was one of his early builds. So you could also start something like this. So here's my counterpoint to that, Mesmery. ARPGs are often balanced on the idea of a power fantasy, where you start weak and you get super, super strong. It is functionally impossible to balance a huge number of builds for that power fantasy. So instead, there's going to be a few really good builds and a lot of really, really bad builds. If you care about completing all the content, play a good build. If you want to be a hipster, you can be a hipster. You just have to accept the limitation that comes with it. All right, well, so much for the fluorescent memory garbage. There's no way I'm doing that over 14 flame fuel. The fluorescent memory strategy isn't garbage, by the way. The roll I got for it was. Yep, no problem. Yeah, the inevitable issue is... I can see why you're having a hard time. Wilt is balanced around the item memory. It's really hard to make a Wilt build that doesn't use that item and have a good time. So this right here is what you need for Wilt to feel good most of the time. The exception is if you can get... Where is it here? Is this expensive to start? No, it's pretty reasonable. Oh no. Do I have money on my other character? I think I'm broke. I'd really like to buy that though, because that's very interesting. It's probably gone though. Wait, it's not? Oh, item expired, no wonder. God damn it. So the reason I wanted to buy this is, well, look at all the other prices. Wait, do I even have money on this character? That's a better question. Oh, I do. Oh, I have another 1,000 FE. Oh, see, for the 30-31 thing, I don't ever go for those. They're clearly bait for people with a seasonal pet. As for memory on non-spell, kind of, memory's optimized for spell, but it's so strong that even most attack builds, minus the ones using the Lightless Vestment, want to use that. Well, apparently I'm not as broke as I thought I was. That's good to know. All right, so to start off with, Dark Surge. The hardest part about playing this build is looting takes up more of your time than clearing the enemies. Unless you do what I did there and mess up and spam your button too fast. Then you just have to reload all your skills. Yeah, this build ended up being functional, even on pretty cheap gear. It just gets a lot better with good gear. Which, I mean, that's not too surprising. It's how most builds work. Also, there's no specific reason anymore to get thousands of wilts on a build. What matters is how much damage do those wilts do. It used to be that there was a reason because you could set enemy resistance into basically infinite negatives with it. All right. Ooh. Compass rewards. So I'll definitely do that for my next one. That'll be for the one after that. But first, I can do this to stack even more rewards on top. Which biggish circle do you mean? There's so many. Do you mean this one? Yes, that is Soul Focus? The spell damage buff. Or do you mean this circle, because that's my curse? Or do you mean this circle this other circle right now, which is my skill? This entire build is just circles. No wonder options, okay. Oh, soul eating, right, not soul focus. I kind of wish I could turn the visual for it off. It's honestly obnoxious how large it is. Where do you get Dark Surge cards? No idea. Wherever it says in-game that you get them, you get them. All these circles make a square. I like that. Okay. So I don't want to do that yet because I have Inheritance 2. I don't want to do that yet. So now I can load up on more Dark Surge stack to get Compass stuff. Keep my Dark Surge chain going. Oh, I should have seen if that removes rare cards, because if it removed rare cards, I would have wanted to use it before this, I think, because this wasn't a rare. Oh well. The green ball prevents you from using Chaos Invasion attempts, which means instead of only getting 5 maps before your cards refresh, you get way more. It basically lets you fully utilize your deck. See. Rare gear, flame fuel, sure. Yeah, if you're running into problems with sustain, I would use the cards Pity and there's one other. The 2 cards for stage attention points. That will solve all your beacon problems. Oh, this did not like me at all. All right, whatever. And poof. Tons of base fuel. Nothing that useful. Oh yeah, this build has way too much damage for Timemark 7. Alright, what did I get? Additional monsters. So I think I do that first. Then this. Then that. Then this. Well, no Dark Surge. I have not tried Valheim. It's on my list of things to try eventually. Though I suspect that's a game that I would not be streaming. Any tips? Yes. Don't fight it. Jokes aside, there is a guide on how to fight it on max roll. But honestly, it's a very annoying fight. So unless your build significantly overgears it, I wouldn't really recommend the encounter. Because you either need absurd damage and just insta-kill it, or you need basically an immortal build. And unless you're going to fight it 30 or 40 times, you're probably going to lose money by encountering it. So I just wouldn't. Oh, they're both gear. That's unfortunate. Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, the problem with honestly most of the bosses right now is it's not worth fighting them unless you can fight a lot of them. So you either need a build that trivializes the fight to a point where you can easily farm it, or you have to be okay with wasting Flame Elementium just to do the encounter. The only boss that's kind of an exception there is Traveler, where you get most of your investment back consistently. But Keegan, huge gamble. Path of Brave, I guess, is fine. It's not really a gamble. And Pirate, huge gamble. I can do it fine on this build, but this build falls into the category of just completely overwhelm it. Yeah, the thing is, ARPG bosses are weird. Because a lot of the time, they're designed almost as if it's Dark Souls, where the accomplishment is in beating the boss. But then once you beat it, you have to fight it again. And because you can fight it again, there's just another key to entry. Most players end up valuing those keys higher than the rewards from a single attempt. So then, if you want to do it, you can't just do it once. You have to do it dozens or hundreds of times. And if you're doing that, you don't want it to be an epic 10-minute battle. That's not very time efficient. You want it to be over in 20 seconds. Which goes directly against the design of the fights, which are those epic battles and then you get a game over screen. Okay. So now I have to do a new Dark Surge. Wait, no, I don't. I could do this first and then do a new Dark Surge. Wait, no, I don't want to do that yet. So, Scornful? Yeah, let's go Scornful. Did I mess up? What build is this? This is Frigid Transmission Gemma. And no, there's not a guide on Maxroll currently, although I did just release a video today talking about the details of how to play the build. And I don't know if there will or won't be a guide in the future. That kind of depends on what happens for Season 3. Because this is the sort of build that could be really good, or it could be deleted. Hey, how's it going, Pineapple Fairy? Right now, it's very strong, though. Let's see if I messed up my Chaos Invasion stuff again, because math is hard. And mostly I'm just not paying attention. I don't remember how much I spent on this build. I don't think it was 2000 FE. Oh, I did mess up again. Oh, that's unfortunate. Traveler does not waste that much time to invulnerability. Because you can skip a lot of it. At least if you have enough damage. Not too much. Just doing some farming. Oh, whoops, I messed up my build slightly. There we go. This is a complete mess, which is fine. This pirate is basically a wash. Or this Void Bride is basically a wash. I mean, if you want bang for the buck, there's a lot of builds out there that are incredibly efficient. But the problem is most of them feel absolutely awful to play. Like the Thundercloud build. Sure, on very little gear, it has a lot of damage. It also feels awful to play. Because most budget builds give up quality of life for damage. Which is why I don't play budget builds. Because I would rather a build that feels good to play than a build that has good numbers. I can always fix the numbers later. I guess I just do honest here. Yeah, although also speed is a weird one in this game because literally the time it takes for loot to spawn ends up being the limiting factor. Because if I just say, all right, I'm going to ignore loot, right? All right, I'm ignoring loot for the rest of the map. Oh, and map's done. But if I have to deal with loot, there's a lot more to it. Mm-hmm. By look how it ended, do you mean it's now the chess piece that everyone's using? Because, yeah, that interaction's a bit strong. I haven't played around much with Lethal Flash. I should at some point. I do hope that Lethal Flash feels better to play than regular Carino, though, because regular Carino is just stupid. At least at low levels. Feels so bad. At high levels, it's fine. Skip what part? DT is double thrust. The other thing is, when people say things like, the build reaches 90 billion DPS, yeah, don't believe them, because there is no reasonable way to measure that. And people love to say their build does X or Y billions of DPS. None of that matters. All that matters is, how effectively can it kill bosses? And I guarantee you, anyone who is doing 90 billion DPS on that build is playing wrong, because there's nothing in the game that needs even close to that DPS. And they should instead have cut their DPS down to a third and built better defenses. Because that is the exchange that most people don't make for some weird reason. All right, off to a good start. And now for the last one. And sure, let's use a couple of cheap compasses. Oh, spam my button a little too much. Oh, that's intended. No, there is no guide for this clipcast. For this, there's a video on my channel from today about Gemma Frigid Transmission. But there's no guide on max roll for it. Because I just finished making the build, and writing guides takes time, but also this build might not exist for very long, so it's probably going to depend on what ends up happening for Season 3, whether there will ever be a guide on this. Ooh, that's rough. Was there at least a consolation prize anywhere in there? Or was it just straight up, every time you miss, you lose all of your investment? Oh, look, I have completed the battle pass. Yay. I guess. Let's open the fake loot box things. I really wish that these would just not pile up in my inventory. There we go. I think that's all of them. All right. Yeah, that's all of them. I like I have a sorrow invitation, but none of the others. Why wouldn't it exist for very long? Because right now Gemma triple dips. And so I suspect that Gemma is going to get reworked. And by reworked, I mean massively nerfed. Because right now I am scaling lightning damage to scale cold damage. Yeah, I forget exactly how much I spent on this character, but I know it wasn't 2,000 Flame Elementium. I think, if anything, it would be closer to 1,000 to 1,500, but it's kind of hard to tell. Because, for example, I crafted one of my weapons, but I bought the other for 80 FE because someone just randomly had it for sale. And it would definitely cost you more than 80. But I also think I paid more for my helmet than most people would pay for a surging right now. So yeah, hard to tell. You don't need surging, it's just a massive damage boost. What you need are these, which I don't think they're expensive. Also, I have no idea how much this would cost. An amount, probably a lot. But again, you don't need that specific thing. Okay. Ooh, an obtuse. So I get 3 Chaos Invasion attempt from that. No Dark Surge, though. So do I even care about preserving it? I don't think I do. I think I just grab these 2, then this, and then blast through. I think they might have mentioned something like that in the Crow's Corner. Yeah, it definitely sounds like you're at that point where it would be way too much of a pain to reroll into another build, and so you might as well just min-max everything you have and not worry about it. I mean, most of the beam skills suck. The reason that you don't play those is they have no way to clear. And until clear is no longer part of the game, aka never, they're probably not going to be played much. Because I tried to make beams work last season. It was a nightmare. When a skill is just terrible, people aren't going to play it. But I've also never really understood why some people have to play things that have a low play rate, and then also want those things to be as good as the stuff with a high play rate. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of things that are legitimately just as good as the top tier meta builds that aren't discovered in ARPGs, but usually, if something has a really low play rate, it's because it has an innate mechanical flaw. that can't be overcome. So unless you have an answer to overcoming that flaw, like if you can find a way to make lasers clear very efficiently, they would be playable. Until you can fix that problem, there's no point in playing them. And if you do, you're giving up on a significant portion of content. I've never gotten why hipsters exist in ARPGs, though. It seems like most hipsters are just perpetually unhappy at the state of the game and always complain about everything. Because whenever I make a video about a popular skill in any ARPG, people immediately in my comments are like, why aren't you playing an off-meta thing? This is boring. To which I say, yeah, well, you're the one who clicked the video. Don't get me wrong, if you're having fun with something and you're okay with its limitations, that's totally fine. But you do have to go into it with the expectation of this won't be as good as what everyone else is doing. Because in most cases, if it was, more people would be doing it. As for new legendary items that enhance them, it's entirely possible that's coming in the future. Because usually the way developers design ARPGs is they make toolkits. And sometimes your toolkit is a wrench and a screwdriver, and sometimes it's 3 different screwdrivers, an adjustable wrench, etc., 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 where you have, a hammer. What else? I don't use enough tools. Basically, sometimes it's very versatile and sometimes it's limited, but they can always add a tool later. The funny thing is, Sam, I have had that discussion with people in Path of Exile, where they go, why isn't insert the name of some random off-meta skill the best skill in the game? Yeah, although, funnily enough, a lot of the time when the hipsters go into my comments to complain, all they're doing is pointing out the shortcomings of themselves. Because usually the argument is literally, because other people are playing your build, it's bad. Which, here's the problem with that. I'm a content creator. If my build is good, other people will play it. I can't have hipster builds. They don't exist for me anymore. Because the second that I make a hipster build, and it's actually good, people will play it. And if it's bad, then no one's going to watch the video, because it's a bad build. So why would I do that? Hey, how's it going? I'm sure that you can list off many more tools than me, Pineapple. Yes, this is. Currently speed farming through some T7s with Dark Surge. Trying to get the hang of a strategy. Pop goes the boss. Yes, it's a little bit like Flicker. Yeah, it's especially weird being a content creator for Path of Exile, but it's weird being a content creator for any ARPG, because people get mad at you for the strangest things. And it's not most people. It's an extreme minority. But unfortunately, that extreme minority is often very vocal and annoying. Like, a very good example of this, there's an extreme minority that seems to think that the only PoE builds that anyone should ever talk about are the ones that are viable in solo self-found hardcore. Which, there's a very big problem with that. Nobody plays solo self-found hardcore. Or very few people do. Why would you play this over PoE? Because it provides a different experience. PoE is about struggling to build up a very fulfilling character. Torchlight Infinite is about being overpowered and blasting everything on the screen. And this versus D4, well, D4 is going to play more like an MMO. If you liked Lost Ark, but didn't like how Lost Ark was monetized, D4 is for you. If you liked Diablo 2, Diablo 3, Path of Exile, then odds are that D4 is not for you. In terms of more specifics, I've made videos comparing this game to Path of Exile to specifically answer the question of why you would, do one over the other. Yeah, some of that's a little different, though, because every time someone makes a build, they're in some way influenced by the market or the content they consume. But if you hear everyone saying, oh, low-life builds are awesome, low-life builds are awesome, when you go to make a build, you're going to be influenced by that and think about, maybe my build should be low-life. You see this a lot with Asian builds in Path of Exile, too. Where because they're not influenced by the market that people see in the West, they're not watching Mathil videos a lot of the time, for example, their build design is completely different. Which in some cases, the builds are stronger, and in other cases, the builds are weaker. Though in Torchlight Infinite specifically, they tend to be stronger because things don't do what they say. And if you can read what the build does, you have a huge advantage. Though hopefully as the translation is improved, that aspect will be fixed. Ooh, EXP. All right, so this first, get my Dark Surge up and running. Yeah, if your thoughts were you liked Lost Ark, but didn't like how pay-to-win it was, I strongly suspect that you will enjoy Diablo 4. Now, could Blizzard make Diablo 4 pay-to-win garbage? Yeah, absolutely. I don't think they're that stupid. Because if they do that, they have killed all of their products. Like, forever. Maybe not forever. But they've killed all of them for quite a while. So I don't think they're going to make Diablo 4 super pay to win. When it comes to speed mapping, yes, because this is made to map quickly. The Moto was never made to map quickly. Oh yeah, Lost Ark does its combat and class fantasy almost perfectly. It's genuinely excellent. Its progression systems, on the other hand, are terrible. I hated the progression systems, but I loved the combat. That's kind of a weird thing, though, right? It's why the argument of, is a game pay to win, gets so complicated. Because the word pay to win is often used in diametric opposition to the word good. But then you have games that are blatantly pay to win and also good. In fact, some of them are so good that they defined entire genres. If you look at Lineage 2, that was a pay to win game that was also so good that it defined the structure of what a Korean MMO was. Even modern Korean MMOs borrow very heavily from Jake Song's design principles. And then the question becomes, how much does it interfere with your enjoyment of the game when monetization systems are brought in to specifically annoy you? Because that's what pay to win is at the end of the day. Monetization systems brought in to make you feel bad for not participating in them. And yeah, Lost Ark has no challenge early on and is very heavily gear gated. But once you get to the high end, it's definitely quite challenging. Yeah, I just released a video today. I should probably pin that. I'm going to do that after this. There we go. Okay, so I've got one Dark Surge active right now. Yep, no problem. Do I have... what do I have is the better question. Not do I have, because I know I do. What do I have to prolong things? And do I want to use it now, or do I want to stack up more stuff? So this is Inheritance 2. So that's going to be later. This is Prolong, and that is Prolong. And this I want to use earlier. Okay, so I'm going to use this and get EXP. It's maybe not perfectly in line with the strategy, but it does work. Then I'm going to stack up some Dark Surge stuff. Then I'm going to Prolong. Yeah, that's... I think about where I got to in Lost Ark before a lot of my friends quit, so I lost interest. Although, honestly, if I had a group to play with and I didn't need to make 2 billion alts, I'd probably still be playing it on and off. It's just that I didn't have that group to play with, and I did need 2 billion alts. And the alt stuff got really boring to me really fast. The last thing I want is to do dailies alone. Like, dailies with friends? That's fine. It's an excuse to hang out with your friends. Dailies alone? No. That's horrible. And so once my friends quit, that was it for me. I'm not going to go back to find the one Dark Surge monster that I missed. Unless it's right here. It was not right here. Yeah, and there's going to be some level of that in D4, I think, as well. But hopefully it's repetitive in the fun ARPG way, where you go do dungeons with essentially the same combat but increasing difficulty, and not repetitive in the obnoxious MMO way of these enemies are 1/100th of your strength. Go do 5 tasks for them. Now do that every day. Yes, dailies and artificial gating do make games feel like a job. Unfortunately, more and more games are using them to try to get people to buy into battle passes. And it's one of the big reasons why live service fatigue is becoming so common. And all the live service games where big developers were like, it prints money, are now like, why are all of our players leaving? It's because you abused your players for a long time, but they felt like they had no options because they were sunk cost invested. And now there's options. They're like, wait a minute, I don't have to do dailies for the 100th time in this game. I can go play Vampire Survivors. Wait a minute. I could go play Stray. Wait a minute. Neon White looks really cool. And they go do that instead of playing your live service. Which is also a problem because I think a lot of game devs at the bigger companies know how to make games and wanted to make good games. The executives wouldn't know what a good game was if it hit them in the face. In fact, the executives at companies like EA have specifically tried to kill projects that were good games because they're like, it's not a money printer. I have no interest in this. And so the indie market, being as good as it is now, is honestly a really good thing because it's a huge existential threat to some of these AAA companies. Not today or tomorrow. Activision Blizzard still gets billions in sales, but over time, absolutely. Oh, I didn't select a whisper from last time. It's going to end up being adapt or die. Hopefully they adapt. I mean, even look at the ARPG market. The ARPG market was so static that when Diablo 3 came out, it was pretty much the only thing. And now, in 2023, we have, what? Diablo 4, Last Epoch, Path of Exile 2, Torchlight Infinite. And I'm not sure what else is on the horizon in terms of, depending on how you count it, Lost Ark, Grim Dawn, D2R. I don't think D3 is going to live very long with D4 out, but I could be wrong. Maybe Blizzard's going to support both. And yeah, I've heard good things about Wild Hearts. I may check that out. I should have done this earlier by one step. I don't think Superfuse counts. I played a bit of Superfuse, and that is not in a releasable state. That needs a lot of work. That's kind of in the same category as Wolcen, where it's not going to have a meaningful impact on the market because it needs years of development to actually be a good game. Hopefully they do it, but I'm pretty sure that much like Wolcen, it's basically going to languish and die in early access. And yes, I know technically Wolcen's released, but let's all be honest here. Wolcen is just a perpetual early access title. So Last Epoch is a tough one, because when I played it again, it was really fun. And it was so fun that I was going to play a second character. And when I went to actually make the second character, the fun was gone. Where, as an experience for someone who likes ARPGs, I would still absolutely recommend it. But as a game with longevity, as a live service, I have serious concerns about whether or not it will end up being something replayable enough. Because the big issue that I run into is, all right, so I want to play a new character because I've progressed my current character, you know, to the point where it's at its logical limits, and I'd have to grind a ton through what is trivial content relative to my character's strength to actually challenge it. But if I make a new character, I'm going to have the exact same problem, where I'm not going to find any challenging content unless I go grind for hours and hours without any reward. So I think that's the issue they need to solve, or they need to just lean into the idea of not being a live service and just focus on expansions. Let's try this. We'll see how lucky we get. Because if they focused on being expansions where, you have fun, you play through, then every few years you come back to it, I think that would be pretty much perfect. With that said, though, all of the issues and concerns I have feel fixable. It doesn't feel like Last Epoch is doomed or anything like that. They can adjust the progression to feel better with a live service model. They can do things like add trade and an economy. They could do things like add more streamlining or progression skips if your build is powerful enough. Like, let's say if you're triggering a certain threshold of the boss DR when killing an Oribus, it gives you bonus corruption. So your monolith progresses much faster if you are overgeared for the content. There's a lot of fixes there, and I trust the developers to ultimately come to a decision. But in the same way that I have some concerns about Torchlight Infinite being in a weird in-between place, it feels like Last Epoch is currently in a weird in-between place. In Torchlight Infinite, it feels like it's in a weird in-between place in regards to build creation. So right now in Torchlight, you have one of two options. And the game's kind of pushing you to do both at once. One option is play a super strong meta build and just blast content. That's kind of the classic ARPG feel like you have in Diablo, Path of Exile, etc. The other is support for off-meta hipster builds. And there's a lot of items and skills that do support that. But then the content just crushes those builds. Sure, T7 you'd be fine. But T8 or bosses beyond T8? Good luck. So it feels like as they continue to design the game and as they move from beta to release, that's something that both EHG and XD will have to answer. Because I think if either game tries to continue to do both forever, they will fail. But if they pick one, regardless of which they pick, they will be successful. I think EHG can make a successful live service Last Epoch. And I think they can also make a successful expansion-based game. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's possible to do both. I don't see a way to do it right now. How long have I been streaming for? About an hour. I wonder. I think I had 30-something FE originally. That's not bad. Like 20 raw FE. Kind of messing around, chatting with chat. And that's not even counting things like T8 beacons, things like Dark Surge edicts, which I don't remember if I got any of. For a low investment strategy that doesn't require super good gear, I would say that's pretty solid. If it comes to connection issues, I can't really help with that, but you might want to go on the official Discord and see if you can get some technical support or help there. When it comes to tech stuff, my stuff barely works. I'm always pleasantly surprised when I don't have issues. So unfortunately, I'm the worst person to ask in terms of helping with that sort of stuff. Oh, wow. That is impressively bad. Yep, no problem, and sorry I couldn't be of more help. All right, so that's the elite. This is the memory version. So if I do that, 3, 2, 1. Then I can pick up pity at 3. Look, more enemies loading in to get exploded. Something else that I'm hoping to do more of in the future is just play and talk about other games outside of the ARPG genre. Because don't get me wrong, I like ARPGs. I spend a lot of time playing them. I think I'm up to almost 1,000 hours in Torchlight Infinite, and that is by choice, because I enjoy it. But I also spend a lot of time playing other games. Like I have 300-ish hours in Slave Aspire. And I have tons of time in MMOs and 4X games and you name it. I did do a little bit of that with my Week of Next series, where I went over a bunch of different videos, or a bunch of different game demos, and made a different video each day, giving my thoughts on a whole bunch of different games from different genres. That was a lot of work. I will probably do slightly less insane things in the future, like play one game instead of 7. So if you play games outside of ARPGs, and you want to hear my thoughts on some of them, and you're not already subscribed, be sure to get subscribed. More of that coming. Maybe while you're down there, leave a like on the video. Okay, so now I do 20% chance with Fallen. I have to say, though, funnily enough, some of the most anticipated games on the Steam Next were the ones that were the biggest disappointment to me. I have not, no. Oh. Wait a minute. Supposed to be fighting stuff. Although I've heard that there's quite a lot of controversy surrounding the game. So odds are, even if I play it, I'm not going to be making a video talking about it, because I do not want to get into political or controversial things on this channel. That's something that I very intentionally try to keep separate. And in terms of a controversy, a lot of it is for very good reason. But it's still not something I really want to get into on the channel. That I really want this channel to be focused on gameplay, games, etc. Thus, if things are, politically controversial, again, for good reason, then I'd rather keep that entirely separate. But also, I've been hearing a lot of things from different arguments on, are things within the game bad, or is the problem the original author? And it's the sort of thing where, to really have an educated opinion on it, I would definitely have to try it for myself at that point. Though the author is insane, and her views should not be supported in any way, shape, or form. And that's what makes things so complicated. But that is enough getting political, which, as I said, I've made a very conscious effort to not do. There are plenty of other channels that do get political and do a really good job with it. There's also some that get political and don't do a good job with it. Yeah, no, I haven't played it, and again, even if I did, I don't think there's going to be any videos on it. Yeah, exactly. Politics isn't what I cover, and I get that it's important that some people talk about it. I'm not disagreeing there. It's an important topic. But at the same time, yeah, much like Dread, I've banned politics. It's also why I've never talked about Spec Ops: The Line, because that game is also very political. It's a really good game, but you can't separate the politics from the game. They're one and the same. That's Chaos Invasion, Chaos Invasion. So I do this into Dark Surge stuff again. Got it. Yeah, random people and political discussion is also... I couldn't trust random people to discuss things in a video game, like Arch Nemesis. There is no way I am trusting people to have a civil and or reasonable approach to discussions of political topics, especially not sensitive ones. Because usually when a game gets a lot of attention for being political, it's because it discusses very sensitive topics. How do I ban a moderator again? What's funny is no one even asks that anymore aside of you. Everyone's given up because that was just not a good game. It's so nice that all of the machines are just spawning in the same spot. My build has very limited mobility, as you can see, so it would be really inconvenient if they spawned any distance apart. Personally, I do not get the hype around cast while channeling. A lot of people seem to like it, so I guess that's good. But it just seems like a weird mix of a build that doesn't work that well until high investment with a setup that is innately catered to low investment. Dread. I talked about that before. I was like, if I ever have to level Ranger of Glory again, I'm only doing it with Icy Ring. Oh, let's see if I can get 20 fluorescent memories. Let's go. I have double duplication already. Let's get a precious reward. But why wouldn't you go cast on crit? Cast on crit is just better. I think that's why I'm so confused about it. Because to me, the assumption is if you're cast while channeling, you are non-crit. Or is the issue that something like Savage Charge or Savage Rush doesn't work well on mobile? Yeah, pretty much just one-shot the bosses. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like giving up damage when it comes with quality of life. But there's no quality of life benefit to cast while channeling over cast on crit. And so that's what's weird to me. Giving up the damage for essentially no return. I guess the difference is it's cheaper. My plan is not going well. I got flame fuel. But the problem with cheaper is it is usually cheaper at the cost of being unable to do certain content, which leads to people then complaining that their build can't do content. Though, that said, if you're fine with the content that it can't do, then sure, play cast while channeling. Yeah, but why do you need to use Path of Flames? Yeah, that's true. The game won't really punish you on Lethal Flash unless you make 5 or 6 bad decisions. And even then, it doesn't punish you very much. Gemma's kind of the same. The game really doesn't punish you on Gemma. Yeah, so much for a precious pivot. Ooh. You got to pick up the loot. Funnily enough, I'm using Path of Flames on this build, but on this build, it's literally just a reload button. Like if I run out of blinks, 1, 2, 3, blinks all reloaded. And technically, it wouldn't have to be Path of Flames. Path of Flames is just the easiest way to go. Oh, yeah. This setup, I don't think it dies. It's just a matter of if it's Gemma or Thea or... I don't think you can do it on... I guess if they actually made him not trash, Gemma, Thea, or Yoga Illusion. Because there's a reality, interestingly enough, where they nerf Gemma into the ground and buff Illusion to where he's stronger than she is now. Wouldn't that be fun? Okay. That removes magic. This removes rare. So I need to make sure to set up the last of my Dark Surge before I remove the rare. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just that right now he does no damage even when he casts. Because I have one trait on this character that gives me more damage than his entire, like, every single trait plus relic plus memory. Especially because the scaling that he gets is all cast speed focused, and cast speed doesn't matter on this build. But if they reworked him to be less about cast speed and more about, let's just say, triggers, then we'd be talking. We Flame Elementium. All right, let's go 14 Flame Fuel. Well, I'll take 7. Okay, so I want this one. Everything goes pop. Might as well do the might. Shouldn't take too long, especially in a very enclosed space. Oh, you just reminded me of something really funny, Dread. That a bunch of people went crazy over. Let me just find it again. That isn't how the wands work. While using. You have to use the skill yourself for the wands to trigger, so it's incompatible with cast on crit or cast while channeling. But also, if you were holding down Path of Flame or any movement skill, you would completely break the build because it would eat all of the charges and you wouldn't really get enough agility blessing back. So the problem with that is, number one, I'm pretty sure the 15 to 30 billion DPS is a made-up number, like with most DPS numbers people talk about. And two, you could do that on Thea or Gemma with literally half the investment or less. Where was it? Well, this is what I saw that people were going crazy over in the official Torchlight Discord. Let me put it up on screen here. Yeah, this. Apparently people really like Erica. The real question is, when is this going to be a skin that you can just buy? Because I'm sure people would buy it at this point. Yes, any character can do stacking if given unlimited resources. All right, so you say you're stagnating and not generating a lot of Flame Elementium and things aren't selling. Part of a problem there is things aren't selling as much due to the economy declining because a lot of people have finished up for the season. Part of it could also be that you're not selling the right sort of things, i.e. the things that people are actually looking for when they're putting together a late season build. As for raw FE, I've been farming for what, an hour and a half now? Maybe a little more. And I've generated probably... I should have checked more carefully how much I had to start with, but I'd like to say 20 or so raw FE, but then plenty of other things that would be sellable, like Dark Surge Edicts, like T8 Beacons, random cards. And I've just been doing low investment speed farming, not using compasses or anything like that. Is this super impressive? Well, no, it's not a super impressive amount of money. But also, I'm not trying very hard. And if I was doing the much harder version of like full investment God of Machines farming in T8, I'd get a lot more money, but I'd also be spending a lot more money per attempt. Yeah, Erica is very popular. Well, then the strategy I'm doing right now is perfect for you. Because this relies on leveraging the Dark Surge cards, and it doesn't need very good gear. All you need to do is be able to clear Timemark 7. The goal is to combine the Dark Surge strategy with the Black Sail strategy, both of which are outlined on Max Roll. Yeah, that's a good build for farming. Because it's very good at clearing quickly. All right, so for the last thing here, I'm going to go for 9 Flame Fuel. Because there's a good chance that we get at least 1 Flame Elementium. Guess I'll go back to this thing. The idea behind the Dark Surge is if you get a boss, that's edicts. If you don't get a boss, it's still free loot. And it requires no real investment because you don't have to use the Dark Surge compasses. No Flame Elementium from that. I never feeling dread. I told myself I was going to take a break. Then I made a video daily for the Steam Next stuff. Taking a break, right? Okay, so I lose stage attention, but I can gain stage attention there. I think I go drop quantity into Dark Surge transformation. You can use cast on crit with wands. It's just irritating because you only have one. Is it one? It's 1 or 2 skills in the game. That work with wands. I think it's 2 actually. Oh. Well, apparently you could use Focus Shot, Burning Shot, Marked Rain of Arrows. Why does this... Why? It's called Rain of Arrows. Are my wands just capable of generating arrows? Why can't I do that all the time? Moonstrike and Flurry of Slash. Though I would not use this one. I forgot that this was wand. I was thinking of Moonstrike and Focused Shot. Yeah, you have a few cast on crit trigger options with wands. It's just a lot more limited than melee weapons. I mean, you can put an arrow in a gun. It won't go well for you, but at least you can do it. Explain to me how the wand creates arrows. This is either going to be extremely good because I've stacked all the fluorescent memory stuff and I hit the precious reward on the last one, or it's going to be completely worthless. because I stacked all the fluorescent memory stuff and don't hit the precious reward at all. Yeah, exactly. Different things in different games. It wouldn't surprise me if Ranger of Glory got some buffs. Oh, I don't know. He's played a surprising amount. I don't really get why he's as popular as he is, given that he's just lethal flash but bad at the moment. I don't know. Did you miss something? Good question. And poof. That's a situation where saving charges just isn't worthwhile. So I wouldn't quite say that it only does that. That is what it does, which is an incredibly powerful effect to have. Is this build expensive? Nope. In fact, I'm pretty sure Dread did this as his... I guess it wasn't season starter, but it was an early in the season build with not too much gear. Or did you start this? I can't remember now. Either way, the only core item that you need before you can play it is this pair of boots here, which are currently 17 to 20 FE. Basically nothing. Yeah. I think the memory's 1 FE. I don't think the memory costs anything either. And pop goes the boss. I don't like that. So this would take me down to 2. Then those 2. Then 1. Then this and extend. No, Dread. I was searching specifically for the corroded version that was 17 there. The prices come down a lot on those. But yes, you do need Corroded Blade Dancers. You cannot use regular. That said, is it going to stay super cheap forever? No idea. But right now, it is super cheap. Could probably even use something like Spring Resurrection Wands. I'm sure those would be fine for a non-low life version. Especially if the goal is just to clear tier 7 content rather than, you know, kill Uber bosses. Which I wouldn't really advise on this build anyway. But it could probably do it at this point. So if you're doing a boss rush strategy like I am right now, it should probably only take you about an hour to get the FE you need. Maybe a little more. Because remember, you don't need to kill everything along the way. Just, you know, major things, like large packs of enemies. Wait. That's removes rare. That is legendary, so that's fine. But that removes Dark Surge, so that's not fine. So I remove magic here. I don't really like the remove rare card in this. It always seems to come in at awkward times and ruin my plans. Yep. That's how you do it. Something else I haven't been tracking is how much currency I've made so far from card drops, because I've been letting them pile up until my inventory gets full. Not yet. Multiplayer is coming soon, TM. Though also, I do not think this is going to be a multiplayer game. This is going to be like PoE, where it's a single player game that allows you to interact with other players. So why do you say your DPS is lower than it should be? Have you been neglecting certain upgrades or for another reason? Oops. Didn't move around quite enough there. 5 out of 8, close enough. I don't really see any benefit from running a support in this game. Characters are already so strong that a support's kind of irrelevant. And so instead of a carry and a support, you're better off just having two different non-carry, non-support builds doing two different maps. You'll get more currency an hour. One, two, three. Like, if I had a support in here with me, what advantage would the support bring? And would the support even be able to keep up with my clear? Yeah, unfortunately for any build that uses memory, you kind of can't get big upgrades until you get the memory. That's why that build isn't very good or advised for single target. Because it's so reliant on one specific item that it makes the progression very binary. Yeah, I guess the support would bring higher ping. That's a good point. No, now I get this, of course. There's no way. I want wealth for the last one. Do you mean variety in builds or variety in content? Because if you mean, well, I guess either one. Yeah, it's definitely because the game's new. Though, I guess for variety in builds, it's a little bit more complicated than just the game's new. Because there's also a layer of people don't know how to build a character in the game yet. Yeah, content 100%. And there's a lot that got added content-wise in Season 1 for a brand new game. Maybe not quite as much in Season 2, although the rewards from the Black Sail do add quite a bit. Even if Black Sail doesn't give you that much more to do. I'm sure Season 3 is going to expand on that. But you definitely can't compare the amount of content yet to even Last Epoch, which has, you know, been getting content for 3 years now. Never mind something like Path of Exile that's been getting content for a decade. Yeah, it'll probably take a couple years. That's just normal development, though. Yeah. I mean, if any game could come out with enough content to rival PoE in a few years, then PoE did something very wrong. Because it took them a decade to develop the content they have now. And so it's probably going to take close to that to rival it. And yeah, deck stacking Erica, really solid build. So my question is, why do you say that Last Epoch is dead? I really needed wealth here. All right, I'll go Wonder. I'll take the gamble on Embers. So I guess what's the difference for you between Path of Exile and Torchlight Infinite and content? Why were you confident that PoE would get the content, but also confident that Torchlight won't? There we go, 4 FE. Not bad. Yeah, and not wanting to spend money on Erica is totally fair. So I'm guessing for that you mean the too slow and linear is Last Epoch stuff. It's definitely going to be slower than PoE. In terms of whether it's going to stay linear or not, I'm not sure. In terms of lacking trade, I think the devs are open to changing their mind on that, given the recent poll. So there's a good chance Last Epoch will have some form of trade and an economy in the future. Because that's something a lot of people want. Yep. And in terms of the maps being small, yeah, I agree. And I think that's an unavoidable aspect of the mobile market. So I'm not sure that map size is going to change that much. In terms of the way mapping works, you could very much say the same thing about PoE from years ago. What people take for granted is, over time, GGG has added more ways to deterministically add content. Like right now, I can use compasses in Torchlight Infinite that guarantee certain things in my map. PoE couldn't do that until Legacy League, which I believe was 2.6. Well, I guess there were sextants before Legacy League, but sextants were very RNG in and of themselves. It wasn't until League Stones and then later Scarabs that you had such easy access to content in PoE. And so I think for right now, you're right, but long term, it's entirely possible that this game will have as much content as PoE does. I wonder if it's worth using a Dark Surge compass here. Probably not. Though if I get a boss wave on the next one, then I think it would be worth it, because boss plus compass is for the win. Yeah, but again, so has Torchlight. You have the trait cards, which deterministically trigger content, and you have the compasses, which deterministically trigger content. So that's why I say, even if it's not fully there yet, it could very well be in the future. When it comes to game dev, though, you have to go slow. Because if you go fast with stuff, you end up doing what Wolcen did, where you blow up your game by changing 1.5 million things and not measuring the impact each change has on all of your other changes. You know, let's juice this up. Okay, so you want to farm God of Machines. You can have God of Machines on every single map that you do. I don't think they're directly targeting, well, I guess they are directly targeting the PoE audience, but they're not exclusively targeting the PoE audience. Any ARPG should consider the PoE audience, just like how any ARPG should consider the Diablo audience. Okay, but adding rewarding content in Path of Exile is also expensive. You can have every map be 100% delirious, and it's going to cost you a lot to make every map 100% delirious. Oh, I missed loot back here. Oh yeah, games absolutely target a specific audience. Just like how when I'm making a video, the first thing I think is, who is watching this? And if the answer is, well, I can't think of anyone who's watching this, I'm not going to make that video. That's the thing. It doesn't feel mobile first. There are certain mobile concessions, yes, but it actually feels like a compromise, which isn't necessarily any better than mobile first, to be fair. But they've definitely made certain decisions in favor of the PC audience in their game design. But I also think the base they started from was mobile. And so that's why a lot of the mobile, let's just say, isms or mobile design is still showing through in certain ways. Yeah, Castle of Mead is right. If you want to see mobile first, check out Diablo Immortal. Now, do I think that the PC version has to be improved? 100%. The PC version of Torchlight Infinite does have to be improved. But I don't think it's fair to the developers to say that it's, mobile first or mobile only. Because there are definitely PC concessions that make the gameplay feel more like a PC game than a mobile game. Which is to the game's benefit. See, I don't like the crafting right now in Torchlight Infinite, because it feels like a compromise that makes nobody truly happy. Or maybe a compromise that doesn't make it fulfilling or rewarding to craft. Because it's deterministic, but there's also RNG. And what it leads to is you're just spamming a lot of crafting materials until you get what you want. It takes a lot of time, and it uses more clicks than playing Path of Exile, and just feels bad as a result. Right, and so I think they either need to go more towards one end or the other, where they need to either make it super easy, but not cheap, by letting some sort of crafting automation happen, or they need to go towards the other end by making it more difficult and giving you more ways to reduce your total number of attempts required by manipulating affixes, by spending more, etc. Yeah. But also the game's in beta, so I'm willing to, see where things go with that. No game has to be perfect on release. Right, but there's a good reason that they removed that in PoE. Because in PoE, crafting is meant to be skill-based. It is better to do Timemark 7. Do not farm in Timemark 6 unless your build absolutely can't complete Timemark 7. And if your build can't complete Timemark 7, farm in Timemark 6, get some money to upgrade, and then switch to Timemark 7. Yeah. Yeah, no game is perfect. Well, Hades might be perfect. I'm going to be honest, that one could actually be a perfect game. Live services are never perfect, though. Live services are always a work in progress. Just like live streams. In terms of auto hotkey, on the one hand, it's a good thing they warn instead of just banning. On the other, it is a weird, I guess let's say precedent that PoE set, where PoE has allowed a ton of third-party tools in a way that most developers aren't willing or able to do. And so the expectation going into a lot of other games is that you can't do that. Or that you can, but the expectation from the industry is you can't. Because that opens up a lot of things to cheating. GGG has a very high trust in their player base to let people run auto hotkey scripts. So I guess some of the difference there is PoE is meant to be played forever, and I don't think either Ellie or Torchlight are. I think they're meant to be played in short bursts. So would you be okay with either one or both? If it's fun, like you played for 3 weeks, if it's really fun for those 3 weeks and then you get bored and come back later. Oh yeah, I agree. And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth in terms of that either. I just do think that it makes sense as to why a player would think to do something like that to fix clunkiness, because GGG has explicitly allowed that within certain limits and rules. And that's a very foreign concept to a lot of other developers. Though I do know that the crafting system and UI in general is something they're unhappy with. I did a developer interview with Ian right at the start of a season, and that's one thing he specifically called out, where they're unhappy with it and they want to improve it. I don't think we're going to see any during Season 2, but Season 3 and beyond, we're going to see improvements in the UI. It's just a matter of what's going to happen how soon. And that said, the game's still in beta. It's in a pretty good state for a game in beta. I mean, you don't have to type out of sync. So that's always good. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, spam Dark Surge. Wait, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, spam Dark Surge. Yeah. And honestly, Strider, I think that's totally fine. With how many ARPGs there are on the market, I don't think it's going to be sustainable for most people to play every ARPG every season. And I don't think developers are really going to be able to develop for every player to play every season either. Instead, it's going to be, you want content for your core audience. Because there's going to be some people who love Torchlight and just want to play Torchlight. And some people who love Path of Exile and just want to play Path of Exile. Some people who are going to love D4 and just want to play D4. And devs need to cater to that core audience. Because without that, your game dies. It's why Wolcen died, because they never had a core audience. But for most players are only going to come back probably once a year or so for that one league or that one season that's really, really good. In terms of a monetization, quick TLDR on my thoughts. The trade house stuff would be fine as long as you could buy permanent trade house tabs. The selling of hero traits with a way to earn them later for free, totally fine. Battle Pass, totally fine. Pets, not good. Pets that affect drops should just be removed. Pets that affect EXP, fine, except that they keep having races, and so should be removed or turned off in terms of races. MTX shouldn't be gacha. You should just be able to buy it. Also, there should be more of it. Like, let me grab it again. Like, let's just say if they had made an announcement of... Is this a picture from before? I don't know. This is what I'm going to use, though. Like, if they had announced this is a new skin, and it's $15 or something, I bet a lot of people would totally buy this. I think auto loot... Oh, god damn it, it's the Steam is offline. You will exit the game now. God damn it, Steam. Let's see if it comes back immediately. Usually it does. I don't know why Steam has started doing this. So, the advanced loot stuff, I don't think the game should have auto loot at all. But if it has auto loot, the way they've implemented the advanced versus normal really isn't a big issue. Because you should be buying the battle pass to support the developers if you're playing regularly anyway. And even if you don't buy the battle pass, you get most of the items picked up via auto loot, and the ones that don't get picked up, really, you don't need anyway. Or I should say the ones that don't get picked up by advanced auto loot as opposed to basic. Because there's some items like Flame Elementium that, so the items can have weight, don't get picked up at all. Right. I forgot that Steam decides to randomly go offline on Tuesday and it sometimes breaks. Although, come on, Torchlight. You can launch. No, you can't? Okay. Yeah, it's a Steam thing. Should be fine now. Steam is back online. I think it would be fine with no auto loot if they let you have a custom loot filter. I also think they should let you exclude certain things from your auto loot. Because it means certain items will have no value. Like, do these have any value? I have almost 5,000 flame dust from one character. I don't know how much... Oh, sorry. Almost 6,000. I don't know how much flame sand I used, but it was probably a lot. That's just on this character. Never mind my other character. Yeah, whoops. All right, there we go. Proper deletion. Like, people tend to complain that in Path of Exile, it's a pain to pick stuff up. But that's a very intentional design choice to ensure that items which are commonly available to players retain value. And yes, you should be able to filter it out. But the fact that you filter it out and you don't pick it up means that someone else can pick it up and will get value from it. Whereas with auto loot, well, I just pick it up. So the barrier to entry into the market becomes Flame Elementium instead of Flame Sand. Because Flame Sand is worthless, all the more invested players who farm faster pick up more than they could ever use. I wouldn't say there's ever been a monopoly in the ARPG market. At best, you could argue a duopoly between Diablo and Path of Exile. Though, even in the early days, there were things like Titan Quest competing with Diablo, and Torchlight competing with Diablo. So I'd never say there's really a monopoly. But I do agree that I hope more of the games thrive, because competition is good, and each game will push the others to be better. Even for as much as Sony argues it, Call of Duty is not a monopoly. There's Battlefield and there's Halo. It just so happens that Microsoft and EA have been playing, let's try to destroy our core franchises. This won't go wrong. Yeah, people still play, I think all of the games I mentioned, actually. Never mind new ones added, like Grim Dawn. I mean, if it had been handled better, Wolcen could have been competition. Diablo 3 had one and only one thing on PoE. Mass market appeal. PoE is hard to get into. It's a serious commitment, and it's a game designed to challenge you. Diablo 3 is largely not a game designed to be a serious commitment or challenge you. It's designed to be fun with your friends. And in that regard, right now I'd say Torchlight Infinite is more in the bucket of fun with your friends than designed to challenge you. It's kind of a difference between, say, Dark Souls and Far Cry. Though interestingly, Elden Ring is proving that a niche game can bridge the gap to achieve mass market appeal. PoE never quite got there. That said, PoE 2 is coming. And if PoE is going to hit mass market appeal, it's going to be through PoE 2. All right, so what I need to set up from here, this first, then this. You know, I'm surprised D3 runs well on the Switch. Yes, you'll be able to play with your friends at some time in the future. We're definitely not getting PoE Immoral. There is going to be PoE Mobile. I don't know too much about PoE Mobile because I didn't go to ExileCon, because it's literally on the other side of a planet from me. And trust me, flights to that, very expensive. Like, could probably buy a computer for the cost of a flight to ExileCon. They said that they do plan to add co-op. I don't think they've given a timeline on when, though. I would assume before the game releases. So sometime between... Well, actually, I don't know. I don't think they've given a release date either. The earliest it would be is Season 3. They're not going to release it in the middle of a season. The latest it would be is whatever patch the game releases on. So soon, TM. Yeah, I agree, Foe. Now, if GGG wanted to fly me out, then I'd be down. Though, oh, I would not be happy with that flight. That flight sounds miserable. But it'd be worth it. Yeah, I do too. It's why I'm playing Torchlight Infinite right now, and not the new D3 season. But that said, I can also see why, popularity-wise, Diablo 3, to this day, has an audience that is probably larger than PoE. Because again, mass market appeal. And it's important to understand that, both as a game dev and as someone who wants the genre to do well. Now, for a game, this is a bait, by the way. This is literally, if you don't have a pet, don't even bother. Yeah. And then there's games that I don't see the appeal of. Like, I tried the Dark and Darker demo. And yes, it's a demo, but I don't get it. I do not get the appeal of it. But maybe that's just because my ability to tolerate jank has gone down a lot these days, when there's so many games I could be playing that I don't really have the patience to play a game where the controls just don't work like they should. Or maybe it's because a lot of people have described the reason they play as the adrenaline rush, and I just don't get that. Because the entire time, I know I'm playing a video game. See, I like medieval themes. I've never played Tarkov, and I don't like choppiness. Ooh. So if you mean the point of the stage attention points, yes, it's to boss rush. Get more boss rewards. Aw, no Dark Surge. Sad day. The Relic one is a bait, because it's very unlikely that you will get enough magic hero memories to proc that without the pet, which is very bad design. Because it's very, very hard to get to 33 magic hero memories. Oof. Rough. All right, let's see what I got. Up goes the boss. Any restless or ominous? Nope. No, there's a pet tied to the seasonal mechanic that makes the seasonal rewards better sometimes. It's very RNG though, so even if you have it, you're not guaranteed success. It's weird. I don't think that they should be designing any sort of pet that interacts with a seasonal reward, because the goal that they've stated before with pets is that they don't affect the core experience. That they're strictly optional. And to be fair to them, most pets are strictly optional. I'm playing a high damage spellcaster build right now, and I'm not using any spellcaster DPS pets. Because they're not necessary, and overall, not that helpful. Don't get me started on visibility in Game Strider. This is why I specifically make some of my characters tanky enough to just survive everything. Yes, I agree. They messed up with that pet foe. Agree 100%. Okay. I honestly forget what pets I have on. Good question. So I have a pet that gives me some energy shield that's honestly not doing all that much except for bumping this up. I'm using a pet that caps my resistances. This is really important, actually. It also bumps up my defenses. And then I'm just using a pet that unlocks more nodes. This could be actually anything else. Oh, I was using this for the EXP stuff for a while. I don't really need that anymore. I don't care about leveling up. So I should probably swap this for something else. I have a bunch of legendary pets. I just don't really use them because most of the time it's better to use a regular pet than a legendary. Because a regular pet gets you more points and makes your nodes better. So like, Happy Chunky, perfectly fine. I would imagine if you played a glass cannon, you didn't have the best time, because XD is adding more and more mechanics to specifically punish glass cannon builds with death. I like that GGG alternates between mechanics that you can do in the map and mechanics that you can do outside the map. And Sanctum, honestly, as someone who likes roguelikes, was impressively close to the feeling of playing one. I'm not sure it really meshed that well with playing PoE, but as a standalone mechanic, I was impressed at how well they did it. And I also like that it doesn't feel at all like any other recent League mechanics. So, sure, it's not going to be for everyone, but that's okay. And I honestly hope it goes core. Because much like Heist or Delve, it will give you something to do that's different. And if you don't like it, that's fine. As long as they get rid of the borrowed power aspect, you can pay someone else for the things they got from the Sanctum. You never have to engage with it. I don't like Heist, but I use alt quality gems. Does it mean I sometimes pay a couple divines for it? Yeah. So what I was expecting is for it to be more like Descent Champions, which it didn't really end up being that similar to Descent Champions either. But it definitely captured the feel of a roguelike. And I guess technically more of roguelite than roguelike. Either way, they're the same, and people can be pedantic in the comment section about which is actually correct, because free engagement. But ultimately, I've played a lot of them. I've played, Slave Aspire, Hades, Risk of Rain 2, tried Rogue Legacy, didn't really care for that one. Loop Hero, what else? I need to play Binding of Isaac more. Dreamscaper, played a ton of different ones. And yeah, Sanctum was good. Now you're forgetting the strongest minion. Blink Arrow, Mirror Arrow. But also, welcome to Path of Exile, where archetypes get massively nerfed and massively buffed, which is a good way to force the meta to be fresh and not end up with a super stale meta for super extended periods of time. Usually, it's about every year that there's a big meta shakeup, which probably means we're due for one soon. All right, how do I want to handle this? Well, this first, because this removes magic cards and redeals cards. With PoE, what it really comes down to is if minions are good, play minions. If minions are nerfed, play something else. Minions will be good again later. It's funny because Seismic Trap is in a weird spot where it went away and then came back. Seismic Trap was honestly not very good in 3.18 or 3.19. It was only really good in 3.16 and 17, outside of racing, solo Southbound Hardcore, etc. Stuff that honestly doesn't matter to most players. And then it got brought back. Because the curse changes massively buffed poison builds. It's like, oh yeah, poison seismic's still a thing. And I'm sure it'll go away again soon. It's roughly getting towards its yearly expiration date. Yeah, and don't worry, Clipcast, there's going to be more absurd builds like that in the future. That's the thing about PoE. There's always going to be more absurd builds. And they're always going to get nerfed, and then there'll be new absurd builds. Poisonous Concoction's another one that's had a really good amount of time in the sun, and I could see it going away. If I had to play Oracle, my guess for upcoming nerfs: Spark, Righteous Fire, Poisonous Concoction, Seismic Trap. My tip would be don't play Life Siphon. I don't think that Life Siphon is a skill that has any relevant scaling, unless I'm remembering wrong. Oh, wait, no, never mind. I'm thinking of Wilting Beam that doesn't have relevant scaling. So for Life Siphon, you'd have to go Memory and Wilt, right? That's the only way you get any sort of relevant scaling on a build like this. But even then, I doubt it will ever have good boss damage. At best, you're going to be mediocre. I remember getting a bunch of rewards from a Black Sea token. If you kept it, you just got a mail with some rewards near the start of the season. Right. Whispers of Wealth. No, stop being gear. Yes. Yes, be memories. Memories are better. And the reason I'm doing this is because why not? One shot the screen. Yeah, I think it's just a souvenir that you can keep or, I guess, delete. I don't think it serves any purpose anymore. Should have killed that guy. Oh well. He gets to live. He can send a message. I'm gonna extend the chain here. See, this is the problem with this build. It's too fast. You kill things too efficiently. Your loot can't keep up with you. Guess I'll open the chest. Oh, or not, because pathing is hard. That was needlessly difficult. Fluorescent chest, legendary chest. Sure, one of the random curses, and then it's not going to matter. Goodbye, boss. Whispers of Wonder, yes. Oh! Nice! A precious reward. Yeah, that's why I look at the minimap. To know when to double back for loot. I think I could make this build significantly faster, or make a faster build on Erica, if the loot would keep up with me. But it doesn't, goddammit. I like how I can't even ramp up. I do too much damage. Yeah, I guess it did matter. First time for everything. So this into this. I don't know yet, Steve. Probably depends, A, on how much interest there is in this build. And also, B, if this build is even going to exist in Season 3. Because if a lot of people are interested, but it doesn't exist in Season 3, then I think my video covers it sufficiently. If there's a lot of interest, and it will exist in Season 3, there's a chance there's going to be a Maxwell guide. If it will exist in Season 3, but there's no real interest, then the video covers it sufficiently. So we'll just have to see. Yes, deck stacking Erica can be a good boss killer at high investment. Not the best boss killer in the game, but a pretty good one. However, the amount of investment doesn't really have anything to do with crafting. My chess piece is giving chain explosions. So if you want deck stacking Erica to be an incredible boss killer, you need butterfly hunting, which currently costs around 4,000 Flame Elementium. Because you need cat dive in addition to your other trait. That's what takes her from a regular build to, oh yeah, this can do Uber Keegan no problem. This can crush T3 Pirate. Yes. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still do bosses without that. And if you're talking about Uber Keegan or T2 Pirate, she will be fine without that. If you're talking T3 Pirate, yeah, the requirements for that fight are kind of absurd. Yes. You're honestly going to have a hard time finding a build that can farm T3 Pirate without that level of investment, though. It's kind of a big downside of T3 Pirate. Because he requires, honestly, 5 to 10 times as much DPS as anything else in the game. If you exclude him, use some Ominous and Restless mods and get some pretty good gear on Erica, and you'll be totally fine. Yeah, like, the only thing I can think of is Erica with this, or, you know, double thrust Thea with, where is it? No, not here. With Lightless Whispers. And none of this stuff is going to be cheap. Or you could go with an Imperial General build. Where's Imperial General? Oh, wait, is that int too? Why does int... Oh, Imperial Might. Sorry, not Imperial General. Imperial Might. An Imperial Might build's also really good for farming Pirate. Yeah. I can't really think of a cheaper build for T3 Pirate specifically. Sounds like you need yourself some Guttural of the Drowned, Steve. That should help with the squishiness. I actually have no idea how much DPS I have on this build. Some amount. It's well over 1 billion, but how much over, I have no idea. This isn't really an exceptional boss killer, though. I've killed Pirate 1, I've killed Pirate 2. If I really wanted to, I could probably kill Pirate 3, but I'm not going to, because it would be long and annoying. There we go. This one's looking juicy. I think I'll finish out this set. Mine is not a slow build-up at all. Mine is almost immediate. Probably would be immediate if I build up Fervor to auto-crit. So there's always a slight build-up, but it ramps up very, very quickly. Here, let me demonstrate. Like that, and now I'm ramped up, and now I just get to do 1 billion DPS, or, well, significantly over. All right. Yeah, well, there is a video which is up in the pinned comment. As I said, there may be a Maxwell guide in the future. I'm not 100% sure. I do think the big determining factor there is going to be, is this a build in Season 3? I'll take Wonder over Wealth. Oh, this is going to be juicy. I'm definitely going to have to do a T8 map at the end of this, just to make sure the juice is saved. Better to do the T8 now, actually. Oh, clicking's hard. Duplicate some cards. And sure, let's add a Dark Surge seed in. I'm sure if I wanted EXP, I would want to be doing T8 exclusively, because I'll get actual experience in here. But I don't care that much. If I don't level up again, it's fine. I don't think I even get anything useful for another 2 levels. I'm sorry to hear that. I don't really have an easy answer there, because just because I make a video doesn't mean it's a suitable topic for a written guide. And also, given how late in the season it is, it doesn't make too much sense to create a guide for a build that won't exist in the near future. So I don't want to make any guarantees. That said, assuming the video does decently well, which it's on track to do, and assuming it does exist next season, at that point, I'm hoping to write a guide for it. So there's a good chance that there will be one in the future. Who knows? Maybe a few years from now, AI will make it so easy to convert a video into a guide that it'll just be, hey, there's a guide for everything now. Also, that'd be scary, because then anyone could use AI to make a guide, and you wouldn't necessarily know what's good and what's bad. That might get spooky. Because you'll have this super professional looking guide, and then the build's like cast on death, non-crit, cast on crit. Because the AI doesn't understand how builds work. It can just make a very convincing argument. That's the ChatGPT problem, where ChatGPT will be like, the sky is purple. Because in 1893, the scientist, Mr. Let's call him Mr. Nonsense, wrote a treatise on the sky is purple, and this became history. It is known fact, promoted by many experts, including the Institute of the Purple Sky and the Flat Earth Society. And then you realize that ChatGPT has just been lying to you the entire time. But it sounded so convincing that you didn't realize until that point. It's the scary part. It's bad enough when a person thinks they're right and confidently lie to you. Though the difference there is we're human. We're not supposed to be perfect, and as long as someone's, acting in good faith, I think it's fine. When you get AI involved, and AI is super convincing, it gets spooky. No, didn't quite kill her. Part of the reason I'm spamming these skills, by the way, is they count as both a fire and a cold skill, which means I get my fusion energy much faster by spamming them at the start of a fight. No, I guess this one doesn't. Right. This one doesn't count because it's not actually a fire cold. This is the one that counts as fire cold. That one I'm just using because I want to get my minion buff up. Loot! It's loot! 5 FE. And so let's take a look at what we've gotten. That looks like trash. That also looks like trash. And this looks like trash. This is probably worth 1 FE. Maybe 2. This is probably worth 1 FE. Nope. Then in terms of raw FE, I'm pretty sure I had around, I can't remember now. It was either 20 or 30. So I got almost 50, let's say. Let's split the difference and assume I had 25. I know I got a couple of fossils. I got, of course, some amount of embers in here. I wasn't super scientific about keeping track of all this. There's some amount of memories and beacons and compasses and all that stuff. For the, 3 hours? 3 hours that I've been farming. Also some Uber Keegan keys, which those sell for, 2.5, 2.5. Is this a good strategy? If you don't have much currency to invest, absolutely yes. Where can you find this good strategy? Over on Maxroll. And I'll also put it down in the description after this becomes a VOD. That's it. It has been 3 hours. I did some really solid testing here. I would say the testing was a success. And at this point, if you want to see more Torchlight Infinite content, general ARPG content, or keep up with whatever else I happen to be playing, be sure to get subscribed. If you enjoyed the video, maybe this helped you find a build, helped you find a farming strat, then leave a like while you're down there. That's all from me today. If you have any really good farming strategies that you want to share,